Hi, everyone. I would like Eilish, if you can also introduce yourself, that would be great, because she's going to help us. All right.
My name's Eilish Nolan, the Industries Lab Project Manager here in Chicago. I'll be the hands for Burcin while we actually walk around the Innovation Lab. So nice to meet you.
Awesome. And initially, like I said, I'm going to walk you guys through some slides and explain what this is, what we're doing, what the lab is. So let's start with the mission first. As you see here, it's about customers and partners cross industries and co-innovate and experiment technologies. So that's the mission. And let's start with what lab does. At a high level, it really does two things. One is explore, test, validate technologies, whether it's Oracle, whether it's partners, whatever the technology is. And that's why we built the lab, as later you will see. It's built like a big hangar, open space. It's has 30 feet ceilings and all that stuff, so that we can actually try these technologies in the spaces that normally would our customers work. And it's very the use cases that I'm going to share today is developed in the last couple of years, and there has to do with what customers want. That's the other thing. It's very customer driven, what customers want to, what their problems are, and we actually address them and work with them. And if there are any gaps, we work with partners to bring them in, and that's what one part of the lab. The second part is we also provide immersive experiences. So rather than showing a product or a feature one at a time, we actually have the physical visitors, and now it's all virtual visitors go through a script and solve problems. And when you're on the site, you actually touch products. Like if it's a RFID reader that allows you to find material on site, you'll be able to actually scan it and find it, right? So there's the physicality of it too. And what we do is at the lab, we work with multiple Oracle line of businesses. Currently, I think it's 6 different business groups, and they invest their time and resources to do their, I'll say, co-innovation with customers and partners. And meanwhile, it's the same model for partners. You're going to see a map at the end. There's lots of logos you're going to see. And the way it works is they actually invest their own resources to it. So for partners, they actually, if they need to bring hardware or software, whatever it is that's necessary, they put their resources also. Now, let's start with how it started. So I started working in Oracle 4 years ago. This August is 4 years. And prior to that, I was in the construction and engineering field, working in the industry. And as I joined the business unit, which is called construction engineering, has applications focused on that industry. And they are products for scheduling, project management, payments, and workflows. So it's very specific to that industry. My role was at that time is to lead innovation for that business unit. And 6 months into the job, we were having a conversation. And what really concluded is we were doing the practice of working with customers and partners and integrations and solving problems. It became really clear that we actually need a physical place to try these things, right? It's great to have ideas and workflows, all that data flow and how it works, or even our product development. If we were bringing some new technology and trying new tech, we need the physical space. So 6 months into the job, we had a conversation and said, hey, why don't we just build a site? And 6 months after that, so almost my 1-year anniversary of working at Oracle, we actually had the site opened. So this site opened in August 2018. And as you see, since most of you come from the development background and product, I'll say this was our minimum viable product. So what you're seeing here doesn't look that exciting from distance because it's a site trailer, a site office, a steel structure, a fenced area, some equipment on the site. But it was all about the use cases that we actually focused on. And initially, we thought we built the site, and this was our test to see, will partners work with us? Will customers work with us? What will be the market's reaction? It even exceeded our own expectations. to the point that, this is built in North America. It's in Chicago. It's in suburbs of Chicago. It is a Oracle facility. We had visitors come from Australia, New Zealand, China, Middle East, Europe, and spent 2-3 days with us. So yes, we had a lot of great response from the market. We then had a lot of partners wanted to come and join and actually be part of this test bed. And at that point, we were limited to this, right? So, we only had certain capacity. We operated this site almost 18 months. And then we actually start building this building image that you see behind me. It's in the same, these are the same location. And again, this new facility, that facility is completed today, is giving us a lot of capabilities. And at the end of this, you're actually going to see what that looks like. So this is our starting point. In some ways, this is our garage. Like every startup, every business talks about how everything starts in a garage. Ours was a construction site office or a trailer. I'm going to share some, how we actually use the technology. So let me go back to the image again. We tested and validated certain use cases during this time of, I'll say 15 to 18 months on this small construction site. And then what we decided to do, then use all of them to actually build this building behind me. So in some ways we tested, validated some, they become commercially available. And then we said, okay, we'll use our project management, we're scheduling and payment products. And then these partner products all together. Some are one directionally, some are partially integrated, and some use cases we actually developed during construction. I'm going to walk you through what that means. As you see, this is a massive effort, right? To actually test and all that stuff in a year and a half, and then actually deploy this to build it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a video. I think the sound is not coming. That's okay. It's music, but this is giving you a little bit of time lapse of building. Again, we used a lot of technologies like drone capture from, robotic technologies to laser scan and, collect the data. I'm going to talk on that in detail in a later. This is giving you, some view of what the site is. This is a laser scanner, colored laser scan of the site that enables you to, as you see, you can fly through it. Here's what you're seeing is the reality capture 3D point cloud of the building overlaid with the model of the building. So it's showing you what's completed, what's not. It can also give you some street view. So this is our trials of augmented reality and then the building. So Eilish, again, in live video, going to walk you through, but this is giving you some examples of trials that we have, worker safety, RFID reduced drones, rovers, equipment, and then there's also a lot of use cases beyond construction. So the lab actually evolved and it went beyond construction and engineering. So in the current phase, we focus on construction engineering, utilities, which has a lot of energy use cases, and also communications. So those three are the key industries that are actually at the lab. So for now, I want to see if there's any questions. Is that okay? And before I jump into the use cases. Any questions? All right, silence. So if that's okay, yes. I'll move on.
Yeah, please move on. Probably okay. The question will come at the end.
No problem. So one of the use cases is about this concept of digital twin. So it's a keyword in many industries. It's about creating a digital replica of the assets and then putting some intelligence to it, putting some sensors on those assets, and then being able to simulate the outcomes. There are many definitions of digital twin. That's how I would describe it. So it's not just having a model. It's not just having sensors. It's actually collecting the historical data and then making some predictions, even running some simulations on it. Now, digital twin concept is not new. It's used heavily in manufacturing and other places, in other industries. But in terms of engineering and construction, that concept of fully modeling the building in sensors and making predictions is a I'll say a new entry to the industry. So for the lab, we actually had the project fully modeled and then created the contractor on site actually provided us an as-built model at the end. So in some ways, that's step one of a digital twin because you have those assets together. Later on, you're going to see that we actually built this building with tons of sensors. So the next step of that is we're actually working towards tying the model to the sensors to actually provide a true digital representation of what's happening on the site. Another one I want to mention is about our scheduling. So we brought our next generation scheduling product to the project used by the general contractors and the subcontractors on the site. As you know, during pandemic, having tools that we can remotely work become a lot important, and this is one of those. So having as you see on the left image, you see it's a person is actually using a touch screen with some tasks and schedule activities on it. That screen could be your home screen. You could do this remotely. You don't have to be in the same space. Typically, those task management process is actually done in a room with multiple people and committing to the tasks and recording it. This way, you are actually able to do this fully remotely. Another, I'll say, innovation that came to the market is the two methods. So there's the critical path method for scheduling, which identifies all the activities that are critical to the project, and if any of those delay, the project will delay. And then there is the task management. So we actually combined the two and created a platform that enables you to do both at the same time. Again, another one that we were working on for 18 months was about materials, right? So as you see here during the construction, we actually use material readiness with our partner that enables us to track materials from production to shipment to delivery on site. That's key. And then to the installation. And on the right, you're seeing some gate readers. So it enables you to do contactless site deliveries. So when materials show up on a truck, it automatically registers those work packages, then enables to know what those work packages, what materials are linked to what schedule activities. So it lets you track, what's actually on site. So that's one of the key things that really helps. And again, it become very important to track materials from production to shipment to delivery. This enables you to say, well, I have this activity next week, and I need to have 100 pieces to be on site to assemble this and make it happen. And where are they? So you could be able to say, well, 30% is in production, 20% is shipped, the other percentage is on site. And you know that if the shipment of production, you still have 50% not on site, you know that you're in trouble, right? So this enables you to track all the pieces and how they get together. And especially this method is heavily used on very large projects, billion-dollar projects with a lot of pieces and materials. And in the example I gave, if you have 100 pieces that needs to come together, and if you're missing 5 of them, you're not going to complete that activity that day. So if you're missing stuff, that's a major issue. And these things mostly are not as easy as let's go to a home supply store and actually buy them and install them. So there are specific designs and things that's needed. You have seen this video, everybody is aware of the Boston Dynamics Spot robot. It is YouTube famous. We wanted to show that it can do more than just, dancing, and there are heavy industry use cases for it. And Boston Dynamics is one of the leaders in this industry. In this use case, our partner is actually Faro Technologies. Faro is a company which provides multiple scanning products, including laser scanner. So it was around April, I think March, April timeline of 2020, last year, Faro decided to actually do an integration with the robotic product. So they actually brought to the site, they did scanners that enabled them with the testing and trials to bring that to the market in August 2020. But it wasn't just Faro working on those integrations. We also work with them to actually make sure the data goes into our products for visual data, for the model and the schedule. and eventually, visualize this in another third-party product, which is a company named Reconstruct. So the image to the bottom actually shows you how the visual data, the model, and the schedule can overlay. You have seen the video earlier about that. So this all ties together. Again, the purpose of the lab, like I said, is to solve problems that customers want us to solve. Capturing what's happened on site is a major issue. And this is just one way of doing that. It's the laser scan and then save the data in Oracle platforms and then visualize it somewhere else. There are key benefits to this process, and it's become very obvious during pandemic. If you can capture everything happening on the site with the techniques on the left, from photos to laser scan, LiDARs, drones, 360 cameras, live camera feeds, some of the things that we're used to doing, delivering projects, could be done remotely. It could be even inspections. So if any of you have done some construction work in your house or some other projects, you know that certain type of work requires inspections from electrical, plumbing to other things, especially in the cities. You need to get a permit to do them. And the typical method is you actually do them and then an inspector shows up physically to actually do it, right? That's the typical model. What happened in the last 12 to 18 months is, if you have technologies to capture the reality, even as basic as photos, right? It doesn't have to be. A lot of the, I'll say, use cases we're able to switch to digital. In some cases, we are even aware that inspections are done in certain cities with video feeds or photos, or just going through them rather than actually physically being on the site. And what does this mean for engineering construction? So if you have these technologies on the left, or one or other or many of them, you can use Oracle product as the common data environment and then visualize them in other products to actually pull all of them together. So this is a use case we worked on. It was, again, it was a request from our customers because they said, well, we really need to know what's happening on the site. And we need to know the progress. We need to be able to quantify it. We need to do these things in one place. Another one I want to mention is health and safety. So our partner actually has this AI modeling capability, which grabs the data from our project management and then it tags. Like it will tag site readiness, it will tag certain activities, and then you create some actions out of it. Well, during the pandemic, we actually asked them and they modified the model. It will tag people in groups. Again, this did not do facial recognition. It did not create, it didn't do facial recognition, and it was used as a way for us to educate the teams. Also, it didn't measure the distance. So it didn't say, what the distance between the two people are, but it was a way of analyzing the photos that actually came out and looking at this as an education tool rather than, finding ways to, control the site. And what you're seeing is something we did prototype. When we say we, as Oracle and few partners get together and try to see what will happen if we take the camera feed coming in, put it in an AI model that does social distancing recognition, and that model then actually triggers an action in Unifier, which is an Oracle construction engineering product. In that case, if someone violates it, it takes that image from that second, it triggers an action in Unifier as a safety observation and for someone to do it. And what you're going to see here is on the side, turns into red because you'll see that violation on the side that actually triggered that. So we tried this on the side, and this is a prototype, and it is around 90% accurate. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why we do not see autonomous vehicles driving around on our streets today, because there are still some challenges with accuracy with computer vision. It's not there yet. It will be there. I'm pretty sure it will be there with all the investment and technology developments happening. But again, this was our trial to see how we can actually do this. Again, what you're seeing is our trial of using new technologies, new use cases. And this was also another example of how it actually was triggered by our customers. Now, let's switch the gears a little bit. Until now, everything I've shown is some examples of use cases, what we have done during building this building. Now let's switch gears and see what happens after the building is built, right? The story has three parts. Part one is phase one of the lab, that small construction site. That was only construction engineering. Phase two, the second part of the story is about what use cases we implemented that we learned in the first phase. How did we actually do them? You saw those. Now let's go to the third part. The construction is complete. This building image behind me is in place. What do? We actually built probably one of the smartest buildings in the world with all these data sources. As you see here, from lighting to energy to smart parking, electrical, water, HVAC. And the goal is to pool all this data in one place, right? So with IoT gateways, we actually build a data lake that enables us to collect all this data. And the goal, again, the purpose of this is to use this data for our own research and development, right? How would this tie to Oracle products? How would we match this with partner data? What would that look like? And what I'm going to show you is actually what you're seeing here is an interface that is a third-party product that runs on OCI. What you're going to see when I play this is it's going to show you, as an example, what comes in the main meter versus solar panels and power wall that at that time. And you're going to see how this is looking at lighting, HVAC, occupancy, other devices that's on the site, showing who's on the site, what spaces are actually occupied and used. So everything on the left is built for space utilization, commissioning, measurements, verification, reporting. All the stuff is actually built for the lab. The purpose of this is to have this in one place. And the last one, as you see here, is data sharing with Oracle line of businesses, right? The goal of this is we collect all this data for the building and actually leverage it for our own, research and development. Again, this was the idea 2 years ago when we're building the building. Let's make sure this building has all these capabilities so that it is future-proof in some way, and that it actually enables us to do other things later on. And my last slide, before I will start showing inside the lab, is this ecosystem. So you see a lot of logos here, and these logos are our partners. So they are participating on problem solving with us, with customers at the lab. And you might wonder, like one of the examples, Airbus here, you see Airbus logo. That's where we get the satellite imagery from Airbus, and then one of the use cases is how can we get satellite imagery and then use Esri as our GIS product, and then link it to a schedule and see what progress would be. This is just one example. So we're not just looking at one-to-one relationships. We're looking at how we can take data from different places and combine them, make us in the center, or there, multiple ways of doing it. Other things happened, which I'm proud to say, is when we create this ecosystem, after these partners actually start working with us, they actually start working with each other too. So there are several examples of partners developing integrations with each other that enables them to go to market together as we create this environment to actually work with them. Now, this is the end of my deck. Before I start, want to see if you guys have any questions.
I have more than one, but right now I'm asking just one.
Sure.
So this construction or this lab was, or it's working as a simulation field, or actually deliver solution for the customer?
So it does both.
Okay.
Yep. So it is a simulated environment, right? But eventually, what we work with the partners, our own innovations, it turns into a commercially available product.
Okay.
So it does turn into like let me give you another example. So we were developing, I'm going to give again another construction example because that's the focus so far ahead. Like we were developing an artificial intelligence, it's a machine learning product which does predictions on schedules internally, in that we actually trialed it with for our own R&D, how would that product work with partner data at the lab? And then that product, actually, the one that Oracle product, which does is now generally available, is a product that's out there. So it's kind of like a test bed for the line of businesses, Marilla, who actually can try these things in the physical world. Because a lot of times we didn't have a place to actually put them in, other than customers trying it and putting pilots in on their work sites, right? This time we actually have a facility to try them in a, I call this the safe environment where, you know, if things fail, that's okay, right? Because it's not an active, you know, working site for construction. It's not an active site for utilities. It's not an active site for communication. This is our test bed. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. In fact, thank you very much.
And one key thing is, look, do we show the, you know, visitors what those are? Yes. But again, the goal of that is eventually, you know, these things actually turn into products. Improvements on partner end, you know, new products on our end, or some integrations. Again, the philosophy we follow is 1 + 1 is more than 2, because us and partner and customer all getting together and solving the real world use cases is what the whole premise of the lab.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, I know it's later in the day for most of you. So Eilish, you can proceed.
Let's get started here. Flip my camera around. So hi, everybody. I'm actually on site here at the Innovation Lab. So if you were to actually be here and walk in, this is our lobby area. We have a kitchenette over here. Coming this way is our command center. So tables and everything are movable. We have a large touchscreen up here where multiple people can be working at the same time. Coming this way is another collaboration space that we have with screens and monitors and some private phone booths over here. So opportunity to split off into different working groups or to stay together one large group area.
And Eilish, do you mind turning back and show towards the trailer?
Ah.
All right. So if you, yeah. So that's where everything started, by the way. So if you guys remember that picture that I showed earlier in the slide deck, that's where everything started, in that side office trailer. And the site itself is, the simulated site itself is where the building is located today. We actually kept the side office. In some ways, this reminds us where we all started from, right? That was our minimum viable product, and then the building itself is built on the actual construction site.
Yep. Only thing new we did was replace the roof. So
yep, this thing actually is a roof. And what Eilish is going to show is, Eilish, you can probably do it from the window without going outside. Is what you're seeing here is the actual test bed, right? So this is the test bed area. You see steel structure and some other cameras and other things that are on the site. And then we can go into the second floor. And as she's doing it, I will, you don't have to rush, Eilish. I know that it's hard to walk and talk. So the purpose of this is, again, that's our big open space that we can try and test some of these, you know, technologies in one place. And what she's going to do is she's going to walk us to the second floor, and she's going to show us how we actually built a apartment. When I say apartment, it's a condo apartment. It has everything that you need to live in it except a bed. It has full kitchen, appliances to the right. Yep. So you'll see that we built this. The question will be why we would build a fully functioning kitchen. And then Eilish, if you can show us behind the wall what we have. Okay. You'll see that here's the Tesla Powerwall, chargers and heaters and coolers and everything. That we even have a washer dryer, so that shows you you're seeing there is what the power coming from the solar panels to Tesla and batteries, and then there's even a washer dryer there. And again, this apartment has everything except a bed. And the reason behind that is in the utility space, we serve our customer's customer. So we serve the end user who actually could be someone like me. So I live in Chicago, and when I receive an email or a letter from my utility company says, hey, you use this much energy, and this is your comparison to your neighbors, that's actually Oracle providing that information to the customer's customer, which is the end user. And then these are some examples of different energy users that we can try. And then that actually shows you the differences between those. So we can actually try the loads and see what they do if we try those in places. So we created this space with all the appliances and sensors and all that stuff to continue testing and trialing these things and say, how can we interact with other appliances and other things that are in that actually space that people live in? Mm-hmm. And this is actually a different perspective. So, it's great that we can showcase and talk about how we serve our customer's customer in their homes or apartments or condos. It's another thing how we actually really support the utilities who actually run those networks. So what you're seeing here is a small model, connected hub, which has all those homes actually on a grid. I think she can touch one of those. Eilish, can you touch one of those screens? So one of, you can actually touch it. It's already broken, I think, and break those lines, and you'll see that it actually triggers. So this is our trial of how we can create these things and tie together. This actually has over 30 use cases that we can try and also have visitors experience. One of the things that I want to mention really is those cameras that are installed. If you can show those. So during the pandemic, we actually, to bring the visitors inside the lab, we actually use those, which you can actually talk through it. Like there's a Google Home that you can activate it. And then we can actually have experience how it works on a smart meter, or have it experience on the thermostats, and the lights of the home will turn off and on, and it will show how it impacts the grid. One example I would like to give is the screen that Eilish touched. We can remotely disconnect that, let's say it's a power line that turns off the light in the home, and then what will happen is it will send a text message to the homeowner. It will say that, oh, we recognize something happened, we're in the process. It will trigger actions by the utility company to go and fix it. We even have a little drone on the left that will actually fly itself and capture an image. I wish if we can show the drone. And then it will provide that data back into our product, which actually tells the service that, what's in place. Again, just to put this platform together and look at these use cases, it made us enable all these integrations, right? These integrations has to work. It needs to be functioning. It needs to be actually doing that. And then we keep adding more and more and trying different things. And then as we try these things, this also becomes a place where we can have visitors experience them. Yep. And the last thing I want to show is, like, we have this big wall that actually enables us to tap to start some experiences here for the visitors. It helps us to show some of those personas in different industries and the use cases that are there, which will be able to, you'll be able to experience it yourself. So this is more about the showing and then people experiencing these different use cases that, like the drone inspection I just mentioned.
Yeah, so talking how Burcin was saying that we serve not only our customers, but the customer's customers. So that's what this wall is for.
Yeah. All right, so this is end of our tour. And love to see if you guys have any questions.
As I said, I have until people will type their question, or if they want to ask them, I can unmute so they can speak, but they have to raise their hand. So until, as I said, people get, we have already a question from Babu. I let the people first to ask question, and then if they don't cover my question, I will ask mine.
Sure. Hi, Mabu.
Babu, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Burcin,
Yes.
nice to see the innovation lab. So is it out there in Redwood City here in the headquarters?
No, this is based in Chicago.
Only in Chicago. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe if I come, I will let you know.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And you can coordinate that with us, Mabu, with me and Eilish.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you plan to open an innovation lab in Europe? Or is it planned?
Well, I want to ask you this question, where this recording will be posted. So depending on that, I will be able to answer that question.
Okay, then I will stop the recording a bit later, and then I ask you again.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
Okay,
yes.
good.
Yeah. There's a response for public and there's a response for internal.
Okay,
I'll
okay.
hold on.
I understand. So you start from that garage and you work there with about 18 months, and then you decide that it's the moment to build the big building. And if my math works good, the actual building, the current building, was starting to be constructed at a bit before Corona
Yep.
started.
Your timeline is accurate, but I also want to tell you something. The moment the first one opened, we were already working on the design of this building, assuming that this phase one will be successful. Because as you guys, if you know the construction development timeline and the real estate development timeline, it takes time to design something like this, right?
Right.
So we were very hopeful that it will be successful in the first 18 months and it even exceed our expectations. So so the day the lab, actually, the lab opened in August 2018. I started working on the design in June 2018, assuming that was going to be successful.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. But the construction, in fact, happened during Corona.
Yes.
And my question is, do you think that the restriction imposed by the Corona disease help you in finding a digital solution for construction?
Actually, a lot of the use cases, if I go back, Mirella, that I showed, were become a nice to have, a must have during pandemic. Think about that. Think about what I've shown you so far, right? The team. We've shown you remote site monitoring. We've shown you material deliveries, tracking, where materials are, installation on site, right? We showed you remote progress reporting. We've shown you how you can centralize your operations and manage things remotely, right? We've shown you how you don't need to be in the same conference room to even do scheduling workshops, right? So we switched to virtual, and our number of engagements skyrocketed during pandemic because a lot of things, G joined too, he knows the story, a lot of things that we were working on, some were considered as nice to have, right? Become a must have during pandemic. So it actually, during pandemic, the digital transformation of industries, not just construction. It could be hospitality, it could be retail, it could be anything, right? From construction and the different industries I work with. Most of the industries, the digital transformation significantly accelerated during this time.
Yeah, that is what I thought. So from the point of view of progression, maybe it was not so bad to be forced to find solution. Otherwise, some of the solution nice to have probably would not taking into consideration. Any other question from the attendees? I'm seeing no. So hi, Guillermo. Nice
Hello.
seeing you.
Sorry for being late.
No problem. You know the story. I've seen on YouTube a very short video about the virtual road trip to Chicago, where someone called Bill Kleiman
Yes.
said that the building that it's in the picture behind you was built using 0 and 1s. Can you? Well, I think
mean,
I
you've
know,
seen
I
it,
know, I
right?
know, I know the answer, but please say it again.
mean-
I like the sentence building
Yes.
using zeros and ones.
So when you're using modeling, when you're using, all these technologies in one, the whole building was built with zeros and one. Of course, there's still labor, right? Where it is an industry, we're not there yet. Even like the laser scanning example I've given you guys, right? So at some point, you didn't need humans to go certain locations and laser scan. Robots could be scheduled to actually do those things. And that's what he's referring as zeros and ones, is the building is, we absolutely had labor on site to perform work. Our industry is not there that you would basically show up one day and the robots go build it, right? We're not there yet. But that's what he's referring zeros and one, because there was heavy emphasis on digital technologies and how we use them together.
Thanks. And my last question from my side before I stop the recording, do you still use Spot on doing things? And how many Spot do you have?
Well, I want to answer that later.
Okay.
Part of the conversation. Yes.
Okay.